right, guys. So you have already talked about 2 of the 3 domains of living things. We've talked about archaea and we talked about bacteria, and they're super similar, except remember, archaea is the one that can live in extreme conditions, so like the super, super hot or super cold or really acidic areas. That's what archaea does. Not saying there aren't some bacteria that can live there too, but archaea is mostly known for living in specific extreme areas. That's why they're called extremophiles, which I always think is a pretty cool name. They also have a different cell wall than bacteria, another reason why they're different, but they still are very similar. Bacteria, remember, they're small, they're unicellular, they reproduce asexually, they don't have the nucleus. That's the big thing. They don't have a nucleus, just like archaea, and they don't have those membrane-bound organelles. But bacteria you find everywhere, right? It's what's in your gut. It's what can make you sick. It's what we find, like, I think one of the videos, I remember them saying that there might be more bacteria on your body than there are cells in your body, right? So bacteria is all over the place, okay? So those 2 domains are super similar. They have their differences. That's why they are 2 different domains, but they are prokaryotes, which means that they are more similar than our last domain, which I think this domain is pretty cool. It's not full of really small unicellular things. Some of them are unicellular and some of them are small, but this next domain is super cool because it's super diverse. So Eukarya is our last domain that we're going to talk about. And if you look at the picture, look at how different all of those things are. So you have the honeybees, you have a mushroom, you have a chimpanzee. It looks like this might be mold or some type of thing that can catch and use sunlight for photosynthesis. You have flowers, and that looks like some pollen or something. So all of that. Eukarya includes animals, plants, fungi, and protists. So protists, if you've ever heard of that, those are like molds and algae. So maybe this guy in the bottom is mold or something. So those are all the kingdoms. So kingdoms are like the next step down in the classification key. Okay, so we have our big domains at the top. Then the next biggest category would be kingdoms. And in Eukarya, you have the animal, the plant, and the fungi, and the protist kingdoms. Okay, so Eukarya has a huge amount of diversity in it. All right, you can see all the way from these mold or the algae up until this chimpanzee and humans. Okay, so it's a bunch of diversity in just this. Let's look at its characteristics or its features. These organisms have a nucleus and they are membrane bound. So that's why they're called eukaryotic. Okay, so just like we can see with this eukarya, so eukaryotic is what it means to have a nucleus. They are multicellular. They have more than one cell. Some might be unicellular, but the majority is multicellular. And that multi means more than one, many. They can make energy for themselves, like plants and some algae, or they can get energy from other organisms, like us. We got to get our energy from a hamburger or from Starbucks or from anything else, right? So we're getting it from a different organism. Some have cell walls, like plants. Some don't, like humans or like animals. And some reproduce asexually, but most go through sexual reproduction. So, eukaryotic organisms are found in the eukaryote. So that means that they have a nucleus. They don't just have the DNA all willy-nilly in their cells. They have a nucleus and they have membrane-bound organelles. They're mostly multicellular. They can make energy for themselves or get energy from others by consuming them. Some have cell walls, some don't. Some go through asexual reproduction, most go through sexual reproduction, which means that they have two organisms that give their DNA and create another organism that is unique to itself. So it's not like an asexual reproduction where it's just the same exact organism that doesn't change, it's identical unless there's some type of mutation. Okay? So now that you know, and we've gone through the 3 different domains of life, hopefully in your head you're saying eukarya, archaea, and bacteria, or you're saying E, A, and B, however you need to remember it. If you can't say the words out, you need to be able to tell the difference between those 3 things. And if I put a picture up and I tell you a little bit about it, you got to tell me where it would go. Okay? So that's what your goal is for today. It's the end of the week. That means that you need to show me that you understand this information, because we're going to go deeper into it as the next few weeks go on and on, because we'll talk more and more about classification. So we've gone over domains. That is the biggest, most general category of living things. You got to remember those 3. You got to remember some definitions and some characteristics and some examples. And if you need help, let us know so that we can help you. All right, guys, go forth and practice.